4 years of exercise physiology versus 4 years of building your PT business. Let's deep dive. Alright team, I want to do a comparison between if you're on the fence between doing personal training or going through college or university to do exercise physiology, where do we sit? Now, most personal trainers that I've met go into exercise physiology eventually, and we'll discuss that in a moment. But I want you to think about where's best spent my time, 4 years at university or 4 years building up my business. So let's have a look at who's winning what. So, as far as time, which one takes more time to do, exercise physiology or PT? Well, that's an easy one. PT will take you 3 to 6 months to online to get your certificate. Okay, that's for certificate 3 and 4. Exercise physiology will take you 4 years. You may go the route of getting your exercise science degree first and then doing exercise physiology, which will be 6 years, or you'll just do exercise physiology straight away. So 4 to 6 years. So when we're looking at time effectiveness, PT has it beat 100%. Now, is it a quality 3 to 6 months? That's a different question. Versus, is it a quality 4 to 6 years? Probably. It's a long time to be studying the books. But keep that in mind. If you're looking for getting into the industry of health quickly, who wins as far as I get into the field right now? Well, it's obviously PT. So I'm going to give a little tick to the PTs. Got them. So, cost. Let's look at cost. PT is going to rank you up somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000 for a course. Now, sometimes they do discounts at $1,000. That's awesome. Do it. That's great. But let's just be generous and say it's $3,000 to $6,000 for a personal training course. Now, my exercise physiology course is about 40 grand. Depending on how you do it, this is Australian, depending on how you do it, if you do exercise science first and then do exercise physiology, it will vary. Some of them can go up to 60. And then if you do continued education, getting your PhDs and stuff, it will be even more. This is HECSTET, this is out of pocket. Now, that means that as far as cost to you, PT is always going to be much cheaper. Okay. However, there's caveats with that, but from a cost point of view, PT's got exercise physiology beat. The skills you will learn. Who walks away with more skills? This is a depends question. If you're just basing it off your Cert 3, Cert 4, EP is or exercise physiology is going to absolutely wipe the floor with a personal trainer. It's not even close. It is someone's in a car and someone else is walking as far as the skill set difference, okay? So EP smashes you. However, PTs do learn a bunch of other skills, like how to run business, how hard the community is, and they learn personable skills. Okay, so one of the things that are really important in both industries is that you have the ability to talk to clients. If you're immersed in stuff as a personal trainer, then you're going to get all of that time in the trench, where if you're spending all your time in college or university, you may not get that skill set. However, at the end of those 4 to 6 years, you are absolutely dynamite. You are a doctor of exercise. You are the best of the best of the best. So it is undoubtedly a point towards exercise physiology. Undoubtedly, they're going to wipe the floor with you. So keep that in mind. In fact, it's such a different amount of skills that EPs will actively make jokes about PTs being so dumb, and it's totally fair. PTs are not skilled as far as when you finish your Cert 3 and Cert 4. If you've done it yourself, you know how bad it is because you just have no skill sets versus stuff you just learn in the gym. EP is going to smash you. Your scope of practice is another one that the EP is just going to crush you in. Okay, so the EP can refer out, EP can work with chronic disease and illness and injury and all these things. They have, as far as their scope of practice, they have a much better understanding of where their walls are. Where PT is really vague. Personal training is a vague kind of concept of how far can I go with this client? If you think about it like this, a PT is a handyman. You need to know a little bit about nutrition, a little bit about mobility, a little bit about fitness, and a little bit about muscle gain and all this stuff, where an EP is often a specialist like a plumber or an electrician. They're very, very good at this one thing, which is exercise prescription and health, and they kill it. They know exactly their bubble, and PTs run into problems where they can often go outside of their bubble. So as far as scope of practice and understanding it, as well as being able to work within it, EPs have you beat. Sorry. That's okay, at least we know. Effort level, how hard is this particular thing? Well, university can be challenging. For some people, if you don't put in the work, you don't get out the reward. It's the same as PT as it is for exercise phys. The more you give, the more you get. The difference is that the more you give in personal training, since really it's just small business management, or in the vein of being in health or in fitness, you're more learning about how to do small business than you are about learning fitness itself. You learn about how to do stuff. So when you put in a lot of effort, and is it hard? Is it hard to do? Yes, because when you finish your degree, you are basically when you finish your certificate, you don't have any skill set and you've got to learn everything from the ground up. Now, if you succeed in that, if you go up the chain and learn all the skills you've got to learn, you can be incredibly successful like anyone in a small business or large business model. When it comes to exercise physiology, you're guided the whole way. There's clear paths for you to do. And when you graduate, people look for exercise physiologists in clinics and in gyms. So the effort it's both very hard or moderately hard. They're just different. One is self-paced and self-guided. You don't know what you're doing is the right thing because the pathway is a bit blurry. But with exercise phys, the effort is very evident that you're going in the right direction because of the actual safety nets around it. So it's a bit safer of an industry, but they're both hard. So self-paced versus guided. Now, I'm going to give a tick to both because they're both hard. They're just hard for different reasons. Okay? If you're a hard worker, you'll kill both of them. You'll smash both of them. It's not even a problem. The only people who don't succeed in these industries are the ones who give up. And that's the hard truth of it. The kind of work you're going to do. So this is not a wins thing. It just gives you context. Most people who are exercise physiologists are going to work with sick people, injured people, and people who are coming out of rehab who've been referred to you by physiotherapists. So you're working in more of a clinic setting, meaning you get a lot more respect because you're a clinician by the health community. You can talk to GPs, you can talk to exercise physiologists and other physios and nutritionists, and you're held in a high esteem because you have that bit of paper. PTs are going to work in gyms, group classes, and online traditionally. So you're going to be wearing a lot of singlets, you're going to be getting up early, you're going to be doing all this stuff. You are not highly respected in the health space. Keep that in mind. Most health practitioners don't value you. That is okay. But the work is different. One is practical in a gym, often group settings, one-on-one, online, working with athletes or whatever it be, and one's usually more elderly, sick, damaged, etc. Now, do not be mistaken. Most athletes are not working with personal trainers. In both of these spaces, the elites, the best EPs and the best PTs will work with athletes. However, most of the work is general population and injured for both demographics. So PTs are mainly going to work with overweight people and people who are looking to gain muscle, and EPs are often going to work with people who have injuries or things they are working on to fix. So it's not glamorous on either end, you're still in health, okay? If you think that you're gonna get into this industry and bloody work with pro athletes all the time, you're not. Most people don't, the 1% of the 1%. Some of you will, but I don't see it a lot. Those guys are not watching these videos. Now, the pay scale, here's the reality of the pay. EPs are going to make between 80 and 100K a year. And it's more or less guaranteed. That's because they get employed by clinics. So there's a guaranteed paycheck at the end. So it's a safe bet. Now, EPs can go into small business and they can make a killing. They can open up their own franchises and their own whatever, but so can PTs, okay? So when you go to small business, you have more clout, you have more skill sets to do that as far as respect within the health community. But straight out of uni, you're looking for somewhere between $70,000 and $90,000, and as you get better, it can go above $100,000 Australian. Now, PTs, there is no guarantee on a job when you leave. You're immediately into a small business and it is sink or swim unless you find a mentor. So as far as your pay scale, I would suggest someone straight out of PT might make $30,000 doing both reception work at a gym and doing PTs. However, just like the exercise physiologist, you can make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're good at business. But that's not a guarantee. If you're just going into the industry to try to make it, some of the PTs I meet will make around $70,000 to $80,000. Unless they go into small business, which is its own thing. A PT by themselves often isn't making as much as an exercise physiologist, historically. I'm sure I'm going to hear about it in the comments, but let's be real. So, risk involved. It is much higher risk for PTs than it is EPs. So as far as pay, EPs win every time. Workload for your client, your workload will depend what you want to work with, okay? That's a depends, who knows. And risk means how risky is the career once I get into it. Now, you've done 4 to 6 years as an exercise physiologist and you've done 3 to 6 months as a PT. Since I've done more time in university, there's less risk when I exit the university because the next step is guided by you because you've done placement, the university has things lined up for you, and people need exercise physiologists in the world because it's a health practice. So the risk is low about finding a job. It is really low and you're probably going to get a 70K job out of the box, which is great, and then that can go up. So the risk is low, but I had to spend longer time to get that. Risk for a PT is huge. The chances of you succeeding are low unless you're very driven and active and looking for mentors. So as far as risk for PTs, it's massive. Keep in mind that like after 6 months, most PTs have already quit because they didn't figure out that although yes, it is a PT business, it's learning business is the hard skill, not necessarily the personal training thing itself. Versus EPs, once most people stay in the health profession for a lifetime. So just to highlight the risk is how long do people stay in it? PTs are 6 months, exercise physiologists are lifetime. They stay in it forever, or they move around within that health scope once they get that bit of paper. What do you think is the best one? Now, I'm of the opinion that as you do personal training and start killing it, and you're doing really, really well, you then need another thing, like an exercise physiology degree or a physiotherapy degree, so you can expand your business and your scope of practice and whatever it be. But that's my opinion. I do PT at the same time as I do exercise phys education. It's much easier to have all these benefits knowing that there's an outcome at the end. Now, that's a safe play because I know it's a low risk at the end. So if the PT business for people doesn't work out, at least they become an exercise physiologist. Best case scenario, they end up making a shit ton in the business here and just use the EP thing as marketing and to improve their skill set. Now, that's my opinion, and I'm absolutely not saying that's what you should do. You might kill it and all you need is PT, and you might kill it and all you need is exercise physiology, but I think a healthy combination of the two is the better way to go.